Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 3.22.
What's up, cattle?
You're cattle. You're mere cattle before the Exilians. So if you're confused, this is not a reference to Aetheral Space Law. We have actually just, for some reason, watched Godzilla Final Wars the other day.
That's what Tanhony thinks. I'm gonna make sure the Exilians show up, even if it's just in name in fucking Aetheral Space. It's like, oh, we got rid of the Exilians a long time ago, back in the day of the Gene Tyrants. They got a little too uppity. Actually, is that what X is? He's a Gene Tyrant, right? Because they were putting mutant genes and shit.
I guess. No one has any idea what you're talking about, because no one who is watching this video
all my homies out there, all 5 people who have seen Godzilla Final Wars on the entire planet will know what I'm talking about. Alright. So, last we left off, let me try to remember. I believe the sponsor of war met with them all, and he's like, oh, you're gonna kill the citizen for me, alright. And then he was like, hey, Ruth, did you know Skipper's name? And Skipper was like, he did that Michael Soft meme, and he went, don't. And then he was like, I don't know his name either, lol, but did you know that he killed the president and now democracy isn't a thing? Haha, thanks for my job again, Skipper. And Skipper was like, oh, you didn't tell her the really bad shit. And I was like, uh-oh. And we were like, what, whoa? You remember, right?
You remember perfectly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Was there anything else of note?
I don't think so. I think that scene took up the majority of the episode there. There was some Marie stuff, but I don't...
Yeah, there was some stuff where Marie's like, you're gonna help me break out Muzazi, and Noelle was like, okay. She was like, good girl. Alright, we ready for this?
Yeah.
Why is it that people hate each other? Said Sate, tired eyes gazing impassively at the traffic below. Why do you think that is? Serena put a finger to her chin, considering the question, and considering why she was being asked the question. Nearly every day, this weird old guy showed up and asked her and Bruno these kinds of questions. Bruno just ignored him, but Serena wasn't rude like that. They were on one of the massive balconies that lined the outside of the hospital, this one made up to look like a dock overlooking a holographic ocean. Sate sat at the end of it in his wheelchair, peering through the hologram to glare at the city beyond. She blinked. Do people have to hate each other? He didn't look at her as he replied, there must be someone that you hate. Oh, Kat's smug grin floated to her mind, and a growl almost escaped her throat. She hated him, true. She'd rip him to pieces if she ever saw him again. But he wasn't people. He was Kat. I hate a person, she admitted, frowning, but I don't hate people. That's different, I think. Again, Sate didn't even look at her. Mistaken, he grunted. How's that? Humans loathe all other humans, Sate said, as if explaining something exceedingly simple. Without exception. But that's not acceptable, not socially, so they lie to themselves. Take the hate they feel for everyone and put it in just a few people. But it's a cheap trick. Wears away given time. Is this guy fucking Palpatine? He feels like Palpatine. Wait, Tan? Okay, Tan's AFK. Oh, no, he's there. Never mind, there's just a lag. Sate really was kind of a downer. It was as if he lived solely to look grumpy and give pessimistic lectures. That might have even been the case. Serena had never seen him do anything else, despite supposedly being in charge of this hospital. Do you hate everyone? She asked, cocking her head. Of course. Sate's eyes tracked a holographic eel as it swam through the false ocean below. Including me? Yes. Sate didn't even hesitate. My hate for you is lesser, though. I haven't yet discovered what I loathe about you. Oh, is it the fact that she emphasizes a word in every sentence? He said it matter-of-factly, as if this was simply the way the world worked. Serena couldn't imagine living like that, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, for every person you met to reveal themselves worthy of scorn. It sounded lonely. What about yourself? She pressed on, eager to punch a hole in this depressing balloon. Oh no, I can already tell I can already tell where this is going. I think she just made it worse. Yeah, Sate's voice was quieter, but no less certain. Yes, exceedingly. Because you're old? Oh, fucking... Shut up, Serena! Shut up! He owns the hospital you're in! That got a reaction out of him. It was just an annoyed glance backwards, but it was a reaction all the same. Then he sighed and began speaking. You think it's possible for people to be redeemed for their actions? Serena nodded. The thought of Kot made that nod a bit reluctant, but still... Yeah, of course. If they really feel bad about what they did.
Sate scoffed. It needs more than that, idiot. For a person to be redeemed, they must take steps to rectify their errors. They must not reap the benefits of their atrocities.
Those were a lot of big words, but Serena didn't exactly disagree. Saying you wanted to be redeemed without actually doing anything was just lip service.
So, Sate spat, what do you call someone who hates what they have done, but cannot bring themselves to stop? Not even because of the loss it would bring them, or the fear of retribution. Simply because they cannot expend the effort. Wretch. Wretched.
The last two words were delivered with such a low growl that the bitterness was almost leaking from his mouth. Serena frowned. Are you talking about yourself?
I wasn't exactly being subtle, fool.
Sate turned his wheelchair to face Serena, ignoring the artificial sand kicked up by the movement. But you're a doctor, right? You help people, like with this hospital. For a second, Sate's face shifted with those words, changing from his usually grumpy countenance to an expression of utmost horror. It was as if Serena had cut her own throat in front of him. After that second, though, the moment passed, and Sate's face went back to that usual. I assume that usual.
This hospital,
he said, almost spitting the word,
has never helped anyone. Not one person, ever. This is a place for hurting people. It's a bad joke.
But you helped me, said Serena sadly. I was all hurt after the fight, but your doctors made me better. Nobody hurt me. Sate laughed, a hollow, humorless sound.
Helped you? He croaked. That's funny. See what happens if you try to leave, girl. You'll see what this place is for. Even the name is for hurting people.
The name? Aetheral Memorial Hospital. Skipper Dragon would probably have been able to make some easy deduction from that, but Serena didn't get it. Aetheral? She asked. Who's that? Family? Sate's mouth spread into a yellowing, uneven grin.
Anna Sate is the one who makes me unforgivable, no matter what I do.
Oh, yes. We agreed upon this. No, said the sponsor of... Well, yeah, you did a narration.
Said the sponsor of war, retracting the projection of the presidential assassination back into itself.
I'm sure you would agree this is quite a serious offence, my friends. I'd forget 30 years forced labour. It's a firing squad for a sin such as this.
Ruth's eyebrows were still knitted into a confused wobble as she looked from the bull to Skipper. Skipper? She asked. Why wouldn't you tell us about that? Skipper opened his mouth to say something, but just closed it again with a grunt. To tell the truth, Dragon didn't understand either. The fact that Skipper had assassinated the president was shocking, sure, but Dragon didn't actually find himself caring that much. He'd never known the man, after all, and most politicians were assholes anyway. The fact that Skipper had hidden it, though, that showed that he definitely cared.
That he definitely cared. Sorry,
Your friend... That he definitely cared, you're right.
Your friend seems quite distraught, Skipper, said the bull. Oh,
said
sorry.
the bull. Oh, you're good. We'll figure this out eventually, said the bull, an unmistakable smugness slithering in its voice.
Should I elaborate?
Skipper hissed out the words, so quiet Dragon could barely hear. I'll do as you say.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Skipper looked up, spoke louder, with a glare of fire and a voice of ice. I said, I'll do as you say. I assume that was with a glare of fire.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. The bull seemed satisfied with that, and was seemingly about to finally shut up when Ruth stepped forward. Tell me, she said, voice resolute. Skipper looked up warily, still in the corner of the room as if trying to hide from events. Ruth, he said slowly, and there was more than a hint of warning in his voice. Don't go there, he was really saying. Don't ask. Dragon opened his mouth to say something too, but promptly snapped it shut when Skipper's gaze swung over to him. Anything he said here wouldn't help the situation. The bull leaned forward to face Ruth directly.
Have you ever heard of the Vantablack Squad?
Ruth shook her head. No.
I'm not surprised.
The bull chuckled.
They're not the sort of group many people have heard of. The Vantablack Squad were the people the UAP central government turned to when they wanted something done quietly. Something done invisibly, even, with no way to trace the crimes back to them. Theft, sabotage, assassinations. They were quite prolific back in the day. Until the death of David President Sound, of course. That wasn't so quiet.
This fool spelled prophilic instead of prolific. There he goes.
Grabs you by the throat.
No! Sponsor of war, put
You've
me
been
down!
getting quite cocky, haven't you?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, sponsor.
Let you
As
go
the bull
and dust
spoke.
you off, smile.
As the bull... Sorry. As the bull spoke, Dragon unfolded his archive. The thing had been gathering mental dust, really, and inspected his memory of the image the bull had projected. The young skipper, in his early 20s at the very most, blasting a hole in this present sound with what had to be a heartbeat shotgun. In the background of the image, Dragon could see the blurry and indistinct mass of a crowd. The bull was right. That didn't seem very inconspicuous at all.
After the assassination,
The bull went on.
the Vanta Black Squad was disbanded, its members going their separate ways, save for one who was executed for prior crimes. But the scars of the escapades are still felt, especially here on Talden.
The bull was full of fittingly named shit, no doubt. He didn't actually care about what this Vanta Black Squad had done. Even without seeing his face, his voice made it obvious. If anything, this guy and those like him had probably benefited from the chaos this assassination had brought about. All this was, to him, was something to exploit. Just like everything else, no doubt. Ruth didn't say anything. Her mouth was a thin, expressionless line, and her eyes were full of confusion. Her fists were balled at her sides as she stood there, staring forward, deep in thought.
Well,
Chuckled the bull, cutting through the silence.
I'll leave you all to it.
And then it was gone. Deer cleared his throat awkwardly behind his desk, adjusted his tie in an effort to occupy his hands. Clearly, he hadn't expected that sudden info dump either. The awkwardness was palatable. Skipper came back from the corner. So, he said, expression returning to his easy grin. I'm betting you've got some kind of job for us then. When were you going to tell us about this? Ruth snapped. The grin died near instantly. Skipper's eyes flicked over to Ruth, but the rest of him didn't mouth.
Oh,
We've all got secrets, kid. That makes sense. We've all got secrets, kid, he said, as if the whole thing was really no big deal. You can't expect people to just share their whole life story for you, yeah? Dragon stepped forward. Yeah, he said, frustration creeping into his voice. No, I'd be okay with you not telling us everything about you. Oh, believe me, I don't want to know. But not when we've been press-ganged into being these assholes attack dogs because of it. You should have told us! Ruth nodded as well. Clearly he'd managed to voice her own frustrations as well. Oh. Skipper turned towards the pair of them, sucked in air through his teeth. Listen, he said, you already knew I was in a little trouble here, and that was why we were in this mess. What does knowing the trouble change? Situation's still the same, yeah? A little trouble? Ruth said incredulously, eyes wide. You assassinated the president! Dragon spread his arms wide as he spoke. That's a big fucking deal! I love how Dragon's just the voice of the reader. What the fuck? Skipper raised his arms, too, but then lowered them again in futility, making it look like the desperate flapping of some unfortunate bird. Well, you know, he said quietly, glancing towards Ruth. We've all got stuff. Again, Deer cleared his throat. He said, that awkwardness the conversation had brought about still there.
I've got assignments for you all from my superiors that'd like you to begin immediately.
Dragon glared at Skipper for a second longer, before sighing and breaking his gaze. This isn't over, he said, marching towards Deer. Skipper sighed quietly. Yeah, he said. I get you. A sword was the pen with which you wrote your will onto the... Oh, I wonder what character we've zoomed back to. That was something Atoy Musashi had always believed. It had been drilled into him. In fact, he got it tatted on him, so it was literally drilled into him. So long as he had his sword, so long as he had Luminescence Chan, he could break free of any situation. Power was his ink, and Luminescence his quill. With both of them together, he could make events go any way he wanted. But now he was powerless. Now he was without luminescence. The torture was unpleasant, but knowing those two facts was somehow even worse. He kept his eyes closed, trying to snatch what little sleep he could between interrogation sessions, but he knew that to be futile. When he closed his eyes, all he saw was Hadrian's smug face. All he saw was that humiliation, the shock of the stun bolt, not so different from the methods his interrogators were using. I will get out of here, Hadrian, he promised. I will find you, and I will kill you. I added that last part myself for effect. But he had already done that, hadn't he? He had embarked upon his revenge and failed miserably. He'd allowed his rage to guide his sword and paid the price for it. If he went after Hadrian as he was now, what would change? He would simply fall deeper into this spiral. Character development! That's my boy, Muzazi! I'm proud of you! Muzazi wondered if Marie had made it out all right. More than once his interrogators had inquired as to the identity of his partner, so they clearly hadn't captured her, but that didn't mean she had left the battle unscathed. There were many people on the streets of Talden that night, after all. The answers would not present themselves, he would have to find them. Escape, then. He'd known that to be the only option from the start. His interrogators would never willingly release him, after all. Even if he confessed what he knew, which he never would, he'd be shipped off to a UAP holding facility as an enemy combatant. He couldn't rely on others to break him out either. There was no guarantee that they were willing or able to do so. If he wanted to leave this place, it would have to be under his own power. He had no Aether. He had no sword. He had no strength. These were the trials that defined a special officer. He would make do. I assume he's, tied with netherwire, that's why he doesn't have Aether? Yeah. As he heard the door to the interrogation room slide open, Muzazi opened his eyes to look, and his eyes widened into saucers of fury. The calm that he'd dutifully forced into himself shattered like glass. A growl escaped his throat. "You," he snarled. Dragon Hadrian stood there, leaning against the doorframe with a displeased expression on his face. He held a script in one of his hands, and he clicked his tongue as his eyes met Muzazi's. "Yeah," he sighed. "I'm not thrilled about it either." Oh, is this the enemies team up to break out? Uh-oh, spicy!
It's like fucking Dark Knight when Batman's interrogating the Joker.
My God.
Don't start with the head!
Oh no, Batman, I don't hate you. On the contrary, you give me purpose.
I must defeat you to regain my honor in the supremacy.
Bro. Oh my God. And before Muzazi owes him a fucking honor debt or some shit. I see, you helped me this one time despite trying to kill me twice. Therefore, my life clearly belongs to you. Except you tried to kill me twice, so you actually still have a one-life debt.
You must save me one more time.
What if that's how it worked with these, honor things? That'd be really funny. Oh, I'm dying. Okay. Well, that was Aetheral Space 3.22. That's very interesting. And, our question for this week is, what the heck is Dragon doing with Muzazi? Are they going to break out together? Was Dragon sent to interrogate him because he's also from the Supremacy? Find out next time on Aetheral Space 3.23.
You will find out. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bye!